Mesopotamia. Originally, astronomy was created in Mesopotamia during 4500 BCE. Mesopotamia is the land between the Tigris and Euphrates River. Egyptians. They observed the sky periodically. The astronomers named what they saw in the sky and used their observations to create the Egyptian calendar. The ancient Egyptians used their instruments or indicators for observing the circumpolar star. Egyptian astronomy began in the 5th millennium BCE. Stonehenge. Edward Duke was the first person to associate astronomy with Stonehenge. Sir Norman Lockyer was the first person to identify the reason for the orientation of Stonehenge. Chinese. The first Chinese records of astronomy are from about 3000 BC. The Chinese followed a calendar of 12 lunar months and calculated the year to be 365.25 years long. Thales. He was credited as the first Greek philosopher. He was able to measure the height of a pyramid by using its length of its shadow. He predicted a solar eclipse in 585 BC. Pythagoras. He was the first person to believe that Earth was a sphere and created a simple geometric model of the solar system. He was the first person to recognize that Venus in the evening and Venus in the morning were the same planet. Babylonians. The astronomers of the Babylon were a special group of scribes who observed the movements of the stars and planets. The astronomers had many different responsibilities and recorded their observations about the daily, monthly, and yearly position of the stars and planets. Aristotle. He proved that the Earth is spherical and believed that it was at the center of the universe. According to him, the planets and stars were spheres that revolved around the Earth. Aristarchus. He was a Greek astronomer who was the first to push forward the idea that the sun was actually in the center of the universe. He also attempted to measure the relative distances between the Earth and Sun and the Earth and Moon. Eratosthenes. He was a Greek scientist who used geometry to calculate the size of the Earth and found out the distance from Syene to Alexandria. Hipparchus calculated the length of the year to within 6.5 minutes and discovered the precision of equinoxes. Mayans and Mesoamericans. Mayan monuments and builds are aligned with the sunrise and sunsets of the equinoxes and solstices. The calendar is kept up with in the setting and rising of Venus. Ptolemy made a system in 127 AD that accurately accounted for the motions of the planets using retrograde motion. Arabs and Muslims. Middle Eastern civilizations made accurate calculations and observations than Ptolemy's work. Muslims built on their sciences by translating Greek and Indian documents to Arabic. They also named the stars. Copernicus. First to develop a full heliocentric model of the color system and also believed that all orbits were perfect circles. Brain. He opposed the heliocentric model and also discovered that there are three-dimensional surfaces. Galileo. He perfected the telescope. He realized that the moon had craters and mountains, and he also proved the heliocentric model, and upon that he made an observation that Jupiter also has moons. Kepler. He was a German astronomer who discovered the three major laws of planetary motion. He provided new vision explanation for the behavior of light in the newly invented telescope. Isaac Newton, best known for explaining how gravity works, he was very instrumental in the scientific revolution of the 17th century. Edmund Halley said that comets are reoccurring and made a formula to find a comet again, known as Halley's Comet. Albert Einstein once said, "The laws of physics are the same everywhere, so on Earth we deal with the same laws of light and gravity on something or someone way out in the universe. It's all relative, you might say." He believed that the speed of light is constant and that mass can warp up space-time. Niels Bohr discovered that electrons travel around the nucleus in a discrete orbit. He connected this to the way that planets orbit around the sun, and he also investigated the structure of atoms. Wolfgang Pauli discovered the spin theory. Particles as if they are spinning or rotating even though they are not spinning at all. And the quantum theory, the physical theory of objects isolated from their surroundings. Werner Heisenberg, main foundations to quantum physics and mechanics. He worked with Niels Bohr and Wolfgang Pauli and created the uncertainty principle. If the speed/momentum of the particle is known exactly, then its location is unknown. Edwin Hubble, the first to demonstrate the existence of other galaxies other than the Milky Way. Hubble created his first law. Light coming from the other galaxies is proportional to the distance of the observer. George Lemaitre, he was the first to theorize the universe is expanding. He also inspired other astronomical scientists to investigate the universe. Robert Oppenheimer. He developed the first nuclear weapon during World War I and saw the effects of the weapon and argued that the weapon should not have been developed any further. Fred Hoyle. He hypothesized that there are nuclear reactions in stars. He also theorized that rare elements could emerge from supernovas. Penzias and Wilson. They discovered that microwave radiation is the afterglow of the Big Bang on the accident during 1965. Armstrong and Aldrin. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were the official crew of the Apollo 11. They were the first to walk on the moon.